Seconds early, but let's call this meeting to order and have the
Yeah.
starting early.
I know we can't start.
No, we've got mere seconds.
Here we go.
Let's-
Okay.
Excuse me.
Roll call, please. Mr. Slater Carter,
Present.
Mr. Chang Farley. Present. Dumpy,
Present.
Mr. Matoosh, Mr. Domrat.
Present.
Now we're on to item C of the regular meeting agenda on March 19th, 2025. Public comment. Order.
Just came in to talk about hopefully maybe this summer, I'm hoping for squid to come back to our harbor. Crab season was terrible. Salmon season's non-existent. And it's gonna be another, kind of looks like dead year for the harbor. Squid, I'm a squid fisherman. I own both of the only two squid boats out of Half Moon Bay, and I offload squid at the end of the dock. Historically, I think, the lease started with my father. I got to control the lease. Been offloading squid for roughly 40 years. Till I think 2012, there was a second squid offloading operation allowed. We had some good years and the dock gets pretty congested. It gets pretty wild. About maybe 4 years ago, there was a third party. Well, the second squid offloader kind of broke up. There was a team between the other two tenants out there. And they each were allowed to get their own offloading squid operations. Problem I have with that is by allowing each tenant to offload squid, I'm gonna probably lose a lot of my business. I've had the existing business and it all comes down to the small pier and the trucking. If you're not allowed to get trucks, you can't get your squid off the pier. I brought this up, I think 3 or 4 or 5 years ago when it was first, the other two tenants were allowed to offload squid. We had one day, about 50 ton, usually it's 2 hours. It took 4 hours. Cut my operation in half. I understand everybody out there needs to trying to make income and make work. But I don't think it's fair, and I believe there's some terms in our lease to allow a new operation to affect an existing one. Open a restaurant and lose half your parking spaces or half your business. I'm not opposed. I think they should each have the right. And I would like to try to just ask for a priority truck spot for the history and not to take damage to the existing business created over 40 years to let, new coming business in. Last 3 years, there's been no squid. Hasn't been a problem. I think 11 tons in 3 years. Terrible. Hoping ocean conditions. It's all, I think ocean conditions, they're changing and hopefully we'll get back to some squid around for the harbor and everything. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and I appreciate your comments. I have 2 letters, emails for public comment. One is from Craig Jerby, and he is concerned about the rate increases for tenants at Pillar Point Harbor, and he disagrees with them. And he has some ideas. And Melanie, his note is on our website, right? So people can read it. And then there is another note from, Matthew Clark from El Granada, who is, concerned and disagrees with the parking, public parking on the Burnham Strip in El Granada to be developed by, the Harbor District for the public. And he notes that the Burnham Strip is part of the, National Register of Historic Places, eligible for the Daniel Burnham for El Granada. And that is available on our website if people want to read the detail. Both are very clear in their messages, and I think it's important to, if you're interested, go and read them. Do we have any more public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to commissioner comments. Do we have any commissioner comments? We have a comment from Virginia Chang Corrali.
So I just wanted to just do a little quick update. I mean, it's not even an update because Jim outlined it in his general manager's report that he and I attended a meeting at Supervisor Canopa's request and invitation, just to give an update on the Harbor District, and that meeting happened on March 12th. And I thought it was a good meeting.
Thank you. And
Yeah, I might mention that the city of South San Francisco has acquired a new fireboat, which will be christened on the 4th of April. I will be there.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah.
Oh, you will?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I think the invitation was
Sent
given.
the
Yeah.
invitation.
Yeah.
right.
right, I think that's exciting.
Yes, very.
There, any more public comment or any commissioner comment? Seeing none, let's move on to item E, activity reports. General manager.
Two things I would add to it, and good morning. On March 12th, I did provide an update to the Mid-Coast Community Council on all the great work that the Harbor District is doing. And also discussed projects that we have planning in the future with the Harbor Dredge, Surfers Beach replenishment, the proposed Burnham Strip parking area idea. The meeting really turned into a public meeting for citizens to voice their concerns over the parking area. And we took all their comments and are considering those comments as we develop our parking lot, our parking area project on the Burnham Strip. Also, I attended the March meeting for the California Maritime Affairs and Navigation Board meeting, and was lucky enough to be 5 minutes late. And during those 5 minutes, I was voted in as a new interim board member for the organization. So I'll be serving as a board member on that. As soon as I got there, they said, congratulations.
I never heard of being late as a way to gain status.
And then the TMDL report to the water board, we're working with the county and the city of Half Moon Bay to get that completed, and that'll be sent out next week to the water board on the efforts that we're doing to improve the water quality in the harbor. Any questions? That's my report.
Everything's going very well at both Pearl Point Harbor and Oyster Point Marina. I'd like to acknowledge the hard work that staff have been doing in preparation for these strong atmospheric river storms, which were significant winds. We had no boats break loose, no boats sink. Staff were walking the docks all throughout the storms. And those that were neglected, boats that were neglected, under the general manager's leadership, we did purchase extra line, and we were able to go ahead and put additional lines on those vessels that we observed may need it. And also pumped out during the storms, boats that were taking on water. So staff did an excellent job both at Clear Point and Winter Point.
Admin and finance, Michelle?
Yes, good morning. The only thing that I would speak to in addition to what Julie prepared in her staff report is just coordinating the exterior paint job on our building here. As you live and work on the coast, taking good care of our assets so that it retains its value, that putting this next coat of paint on and making sure that any areas of concern are addressed, that the admin team has been coordinating that repair. Thank you.
And agenda. For the public, I will read through the items, bills and claims, minutes, monthly capital project update, annual 4.41 investment policy review, critical incident stress management policy, Surfers Beach Restoration Pilot Project, mid-year budget review, and for folks who are concerned about our budget, I suggest you go to our website and look at that. AB 259 sunset elimination for AB 259, which was Brown Act meeting procedures. SB 496 is Advanced Clean Fleets Reform Measure. And itemized investment partners presentation to finance committee, and that's something ideas, and it's for information only. Does anybody want to remove any items?
I would like to pull item number 6.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna do
Oh,
the same
you are-
thing,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve items 1 through 5 and 7 through 10?
I will second that.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Roll call.
Oh, roll call, please.
Yeah, let's do it for me.
Slater Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner Chen Crawley. Aye. Lemke,
Aye.
Comrade,
Aye.
Mr. Mathush.
Aye.
Carries. Moving on to G, discussion, approve appropriations for purchase of land. Yeah.
Morning once again, commissioners. We did close on the purchase of land in Princeton, the 6 parcels there on Princeton. And we did approve the purchase of that land by motion. We did not publicly approve the actual cost, including the cost of closing fees. So the total price came to $1,461,929.51. And to ensure that our financial accounting is proper and documented correctly, through the appropriation or transfer and appropriation into the district's accounting system. So the staff is requesting that the board approve an increase in capital asset appropriations in the amount of $1,461,929.51, inclusive of taxes and fees to be funded by the working capital. This is already, the wires already complete. This is just crossing Ts and dotting Is to make sure our documentation is correct in our accounting system.
Increase in capital asset appropriation in the amount of $1,461,929.51.
Do we have a second? Second by Tim. Roll call vote, please.
President Slater Carter,
Yes.
Comrade,
Yes.
Lemke,
Yes.
Mr. Mathush,
Aye.
Mr. Jane Corolla. Aye.
On to item G2, Pillar Point Harbor Storage Fees for purchased property at 181 through 195 Princeton Avenue in Half Moon Bay.
So building on to the last item, you're all very aware that we purchased, the property, at 181 through 195 on Princeton Avenue. The property was previously, used as dry storage. At this time, the district is, opting to continue to do that. And there's approximately 22 boats in that storage lot. And we need a mechanism to be able to continue billing our tenants that we've inherited. And so this item is to add that fee for the dry storage. And it is the same monthly amount that has currently been charged while we have some time to put together and research the appropriate agreement and local rates, just to make sure that the rate is appropriate. But we need that mechanism to be able to start billing our new tenants that lot.
The $100 per month, is there like a sunset to that $100 per month? Is that like for a period of 6 months or 3 months? If somebody's storing the boat would probably like to know, okay, we need to pay 100 for a certain period of time, and then it may change again. Is that something we want to put in the recommendation?
You'll see on the next item that we are proposing to increase that rate to 125 as of July 1st. But for now, we'll keep it at 100, and that'll give us a little time to do more research on what those dry storage rates are competitively across the region.
How much of the property do those 22 boats take? Is there, I assume the rest of it's just kind of vacant.
The perimeter, most if not all the spots are full.
Oh, and
And then you can't fill in the center because you have to be able to pull your boats out. So the lot's pretty full.
okay.
Okay, do we have a vote? Tom, you have a comment?
Yeah, I have a comment. The agenda doesn't match with what's in the presented schedule we have here. G2 is missing from what we have in our written documents. And I'm just making a note for anybody following along.
What are you talking about, Tom?
Starts on the back of
Here,
G1.
G2's here.
Okay, my error.
So I may have
Continue.
I may have missed this. What are we getting? Like, what are we getting now in terms of, I mean, what would the revenue be now with the current use?
It's about $2,500.
No, but for our total revenue, not, you mean, For each-
For that,
so,
we're getting $100 a month per vessel, and we
right,
have
so it'll
about
be
22
20.
vessels.
Okay, got it. Okay, so it's, yeah, about 20. Okay, got it. So did I miss that there?
It's, the staff report mentions the
The $100.
22 vessels.
Yeah, at $100. Okay,
Yes.
so, yeah, it didn't have
It
the
didn't spell
total.
it out.
Yeah,
I-
that would be helpful.
Okay.
Thanks.
And the harbor master, Chris Tibby, under the general manager's direction, is having staff, try to, look at the entire lots, those lots, and maximize and stripe and maximize the, area with as many, trailer boats in there as we can.
Through resolution number 25-04 of the San Mateo County Harbor District to amend rates and fee schedule for Pillar Point Harbor.
Okay. I'll let Virginia approved that.
No, I didn't.
I'll
you can
second
read
it.
in
You'll
second.
second, thank you, Bill.
Yes.
I believe that at this point, that we'll just initiate the proceedings, so to publicly notice, and then at our next meeting, we'll approve the resolution, so we'll.
Okay.
We'll give
So-
everybody time to.
Yes,
think
and
about
we're,
it.
so we're,
Change the motion.
okay, to initiate proceedings
Yes.
to amend the fee schedule to include this dry boat storage of $100 per month. So I will withdraw the original motion and make the motion to initiate the proceedings.
And I will I will second the amended motion.
Roll call vote, please.
President Slater Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Delmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins, aye.
Let me make a recommendation to the board that they consider, going ahead and, skipping to the whole consent item.
Yeah, F6.
We have,
We've got two consultants that are, online.
hanging on,
Oh.
yes, to make
okay,
it
sure.
efficient for them, that would be great.
We shouldn't have had that on, in retrospect, we shouldn't have had it, we should have had it on
Yeah,
discussion.
on the
Yeah.
road.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I agree with that.
let's move on to item number 6, which was full thing consent agenda, surface beach restoration pilot project.
This is a motion to receive the Surfers Beach project financial update and approve the remaining $330,600 or $868 of the proposal from consultant Dammits and subcontractors MTS, Postal Futures, and Wood Biological Consulting for the Surfers Beach project, pilot project, environmental compliance, project management, biological surveys, and monitoring, and approve an increase in capital expenditure appropriations of $330,868 be funded by available non-personnel expenditures and grant funds. This is a follow-up to last month's proposal consideration for $430,868. The board had last month approved $100,000 of that proposal to continue the environmental work and project management for the Surfers Beach project. But there was rightfully so some questions with regard to the monies that have already been spent on the project, the soft costs. So our consultants put together a summary of all of the costs that have been at board direction that have been spent to this point. And we've got consultant Dammits and our environmental and project planning design team, ESA, Louis White, online now to answer any questions that the board may have.
And, one of the things that I would like to see, I guess, going forward is kind of a schedule. This contract is, or maybe I'm trying to figure out how this intertwines with the actual construction contract for the dredging itself, which, you're going back to our material that we posted on our website concerning this project for the February, March 2025. It shows the project goes to bid in March. So I'm assuming that's not this bid, that's the bid for the actual contractor for the dredging. Is that correct?
Yes, for the
Okay.
actual construction. Yeah, we hope to put out this month. We are still hoping to put out the invitation for bid for actual construction.
And what kind of time frame are we looking for the return of those bids?
It'll be approximately 1 month.
1 month?
Yeah, so by middle of May, we hopefully will be able to determine the winning bidder, get the bids in. So it may be that on the May board meeting that we're asking the board to consider the actual, construction contract, approval. If we're hoping for, May meeting, but it may be the June meeting.
Do we have any sense as to how large that pool of bidders will be?
We have identified multiple, firms that would be interested in the project. So, but, there's not that many, so I would anticipate that have the capabilities and, expertise. I would anticipate just, 3 or 4. Melanie, is Brad Damitz on? Brad, do you know approximately how many bidders you think may end up, bidding for the actual construction contract?
I'm not sure the exact number, but I think by the nature of the construction process, there's a limited number of firms that work on this. And I'll turn it over to Louis, but we have been, or ESA has been in contact with many of these bidders. So I'm just going to hand it over to Louis and ask him to chime in on that one.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Yes, we have been reaching out with one of our partners, BK Cooper. He's an experienced retired construction contractor, working in coastal and wetland projects in the Bay Area for a long time, and he's been actively reaching out and about the project to potential contractors that may bid on this and giving them updates on what the project is and when it's going to be going to bid. And so we're not just publishing it in some sort of like notice.
Local newspaper or something?
Yeah. So we're reaching out directly to the likely contractors that have the equipment or the experience or both for this kind of project to try to boost the number of bidders that we get. And I'd say we're right on the cusp of getting the contract documents all finished. It's been a process, but we're nearly there and anticipating getting this out to bid within the next, what would we say, Brad, by the 31st?
Yeah, 31st. Yeah.
So we just
Very
have to
close.
kind of go through a couple reviews and then everything should be done and ready to go.
Is there a separate contract for the eelgrass transplanting?
So
Was it part
that's
of this
kind
one?
of, that was a decision in going through and developing all the contract documents, we identified a complication with having 2 separate construction contracts, one for the dredging and movement of sediment, and then one for the transplanting. And so the decision, we were directed to integrate them into one contract. And so now the plans will have eelgrass harvesting and transplanting as part of the plans and specs in the construction documents.
It'd be very difficult to have 2 separate contractors working in the same area at the same time. So we did incorporate.
We were worried about, double mobilization, having a contractor mobilize and then demobilize and wait for the eelgrass to be transplanted and then to remobilize. We just saw a lot of potential for conflicts to arise, and we've tried to work out the contract docs to reduce the risk.
But that makes me feel better too. Do we have an actual schedule? I mean, I'm used to looking at things like, what's the critical path? And what I don't want to do is have a big speed bump. I know we've waited so many years to get this done that we kind of know what's coming up and what that schedule will look like going forward. As I understand it, the eelgrass transplant season is like from March to September, October. Is that the?
That's correct.
Yeah, April, the eelgrass growing season, according to the regulations and the permitting agencies in this area, begins April 1st and it goes to the end of October. So all
Okay,
work
so-
has to take place during that period, and you can't do the eelgrass survey to get that baseline on what you're mitigating for until after April 1st. So it's kind of all dependent
Okay.
on the natural schedule.
I really want to make sure that we don't miss another construction season. And
I agree.
So
so
that's,
we have everything lined up to be able to get the dredging done that we need and still allow time to transplant the eelgrass. And once the eelgrass is transplanted, is there a seasonal problem with when the actual bulk of the dredging is done? Can that be done in the winter or?
no, the limiting factor is really the getting that eelgrass transplanted within a certain time in the beginning of the growing season. If you plant it too late, say August or September, then it's not going to have as much opportunity to get established with those long days in the sun because it is a plant. So that's the main determining factor. But as far as timing of the dredging, we were advised early on in project planning by the technical advisory committee that we don't want to do it in the winter. We don't want to do it in the fall. We want to get it done in the summertime because we want to have the benefits of having that big beach before the winter kicks in and there's complications with the waves and the, forces of the ocean if we wait too long that make it much more challenging. So it really does have to happen in the summer and it's lined up to do that. It's a complicated thing. That's the contract that you're considering today has a lot of those elements, like getting the scientific collection permit, all the things that we have to have lined up to be able to get this thing in place for that kind of accelerated schedule.
Will the contract have that expectation of the critical nature of this, so that we don't award a bid and then the contractor says, well, I can't do it until August or October.
Yeah, I
guess
can answer that. Yes, the specifications and construction contract have a sequence that's required for the work, and there are also acceptable timeframes for those elements. And so in general, it starts with after notice to proceed and mobilization, the contractor will dredge in the vicinity of the boat ramp, the boat launch, and move sediments over to the west basin and place sediment there. And it will require minimum 2 weeks of settlement time once they've placed sediment there to settle out. And then that allows the eelgrass biologists to harvest eelgrass from areas that will be dredged in the East Basin and transport them to the West Basin at the mitigation area and plant them or transplant them. And then when the eelgrass biologist is out of the dredge areas, the dredger can come in and start dredging and pumping sand to Surfers Beach.
Yeah.
And
I guess
They could even start doing that before in areas outside of the eelgrass. If there's areas in the boat launch ramp that are going to be destined for Surfers Beach with really good sand, they can get in there and start dredging that if they need to. The main thing is just along the east breakwater, they can't start dredging until the shoal that's built up in the west basin is ready and settled and ready for transplanting. So kind of a lot of moving pieces, but
so I guess kind of Mike, just thinking on that, so you're basically looking at doing the transplanting of the eelgrass probably in the July, August timeframe? Is that?
ideally before then, ideally June. Yeah, if it falls into July, that's still fine, but I think according to the current plan, we want to get that done in the very beginning of the project. So once the contractor mobilizes and gets ready to go, the first thing they're going to do is start working on that process.
And after you transplant the eelgrass and do the actual bulk of the dredging and the sand placements, how long do you expect that would take for the dredger to move that quantity of sand?
I think it can be done likely within about a month or so. I can get back to you on
I'm just trying to
refined-
get a general feel for what.
Yeah, I mean, in the
This
big
is the
picture, it's
problem.
not a lot of sand. it's, less than 100,000 cubic yards. And so I think they will be able to, especially if they have, sufficient days that they're working, they are going to have to work around the tides a bit. But I think we've worked it out. If they need extra hours, that we can get approval from the Coastal Commission to do that.
Yeah.
And so I would say on the order of a month to 2 months to finish the bulk of the dredging and pumping to Surfers Beach.
Also, I guess in this process, there's a number of, at least one or two places where we have to notify Fish and Wildlife of certain events happening. Is there any discretion on their part to come back and say, oh, wait, we need time? Or we can't get to it now because we don't have any workers, or, I guess,
Yeah.
like I said,
I agree with
I'm just trying to know where the speed bumps are gonna be on the process. That's all I'm
This
concerned
is-
about.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's exactly my question, and I want to know if there are problems, what's plan B so we can get this done this year?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you.
I wanted to pull this off too. This should, by the way, never be on consent. The public should always be able to hear this update.
And I would kind of suggest that because of the critical nature of this, we have an active item every
That's
month
what I'm-
to talk
yeah,
about this, right?
Yeah. That's
So regarding the permitting agencies and preparations, obviously having gone through this for the past 8, 9, almost 10 years, I have that in the back of my head and I'm very concerned about it. And because of that, I have been over the past several months interacting with the permitting agencies, letting them know of this concern, lining up, when do we need to submit this stuff? Is everything going to be ready? And I've got a multi-agency permitting meeting later in March to discuss this with them. We've been tracking all the required submittals. I don't see it being an issue. I think at this point, everything's been approved and they still need to sign off and we need to notify and submit a whole bunch of things, but that is in the works right now. So I don't anticipate anything with the agencies delaying this. We've got an encroachment permit from Caltrans. We've got everything else in hand. It's just a few more requirements. We've been updating the sediment quality information every year, so that's not going to hold us back. And they say you haven't tested this since such and such date. Yeah, I think we're in a good situation, but there's no guarantee. We've done everything that we can to prepare and be diligent from the Harbor District side of things. I can tell you that for sure.
Brad and I and Louis have been meeting on a regular basis, and we'll just continue to update the board every month now as we progress.
I would suggest that we make it a regular standing item until this project is done.
I will add that to our future agenda item category.
Thanks a lot, Brad. I hope I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, those are great questions.
Understand how this is gonna play out.
Yeah. No, I believe me.
Contractor, once the contractor is chosen and we have a pre-construction meeting, they'll be required to provide us with a construction schedule that we approve. Share that with the board as soon as we get it as well.
No, I agree with Bill. And that was one of I wanted to find out what the bidding, when the timing, when all of that would start. So that answers a lot of my questions. So, I think that it's a good idea to put it on the regular agenda. This is a standing item because so many people are interested in this issue, and we're like, we can see the finish line, but we just can't seem to get there. And I'm hoping that having this out there will kind of help push us a little bit towards that so we can get over the finish line.
Behind the scenes, the general manager, myself, Brad, Louis, we've been putting a lot of pressure on
I know.
everyone to make this go as quickly as
I know.
possible. The community and the board obviously everybody's excited about the project, and it looks
Yeah.
like we're finally.
Yeah.
Gonna be able to-
Yeah. Thank you.
And I'd like to just also say, to the question of our, trying to get the most bids, we will, also be advertising and sending out to the plan rooms, all consistent with the California Public Contract Code. And, even though we will be also, as we do with all projects, sending it to contractors that we know may be interested, there will be no bias. Every contractor that bids will be, their proposals will be evaluated fairly.
That allows like this type of need to be published in like their newsletter or something, or electronically, because I think a lot of the consultants slash contractors look at CMAQ's website or whatever, you know, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, because I want the widest possible.
But they'll look at the data in terms of who the contractor was and the quantity and completion date, completion start, all that is, yeah, that happens kind of.
Yeah, no, we are. I just want us to get the most bid possible.
I understand.
So we can try and get the best. I get it. It's the specs of. the
Be
project.
surprised if we get four. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
two
just-
to three, I think will be.
I know, George, I just want the
There aren't that
opportunity
many
out
people.
there. I know, but I mean, at least if we can publish it in the widest possible way, at least, you know, it's out there. Whether or not, however many we get, it's gonna be how many we get. But anyway, I'll make the motion to approve, where is my, item 6, yeah, but
I
I
have
wanted,
one motion before.
oh, okay, sorry,
It's
George.
not a motion, but
Page
is it safe
41.
to assume that on our harbor website, we will have a separate link to data that the various subcontractors and contractor can put in so that the public can see kind of on a weekly basis, status, what's going on, any pictures, stuff like that? Is that, Brad, programmed into anything that you have that you can get it to either us or have you guys incorporate it directly? So that all the public has to do is get on our website, link onto the Surfer Beach project and kind of see what's going on.
It looks like we lost Brad, but are you asking about like regular updates during construction?
Yeah, the regular updates that would go into like our webpage so that not necessarily for us, but as much as for the rest of the public, that we can then say, okay, if you really want the most up-to-date information, you know, link on our website.
Yeah, I would think that when the bid documents are released, that, you know, those construction documents would be available for people to look at and to see. And then potentially, you know, we're going to have a construction administration and other, you know, support during construction, which will be, you know, documenting the progress of the project during construction. And so I could envision some like regular photos that are uploaded and summaries of what was completed, you know, every week.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And like for the public, things like maybe short video clips of how the process of transplanting the eelgrass works and stuff like that, and how that's going.
I think it's a great idea, especially in the sense that this is a pilot project. That you know, we'll have the construction administrator and other engineers support doing observations that can help document that those activities and summarize them and make them available.
Yeah. I apologize. I lost the sound of the meeting, so I had to rejoin it. I didn't hear the question, but I'm kind of getting the gist of it. One
Just
thing
say
we're-
yes, Brad, just say yes.
Yes.
Another
I just want to throw in one quick point is that we're also planning on doing a public meeting along with City of Half Moon Bay representatives to just talk about the project. Maybe we'll do it at the yacht club. You know, once we get this thing out to bid, so people know what to expect as far as the construction process and the timeline and that kind of thing. In addition to the regular board meetings where we're going to be presenting, so there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the public to follow the project.
Great, thank you.
On those same lines, are we anticipating put some kind of information board up?
Well, that's kind of what generated that question in my mind. Usually the dredging contractor could put something up, and I think, I don't know, how often do you want to change that? There may be some general poster boards as to what the construction is looking like, but in terms of things that are changing on a weekly basis, as something on a website, can get updated a lot quicker and a lot cheaper.
I tell you what, let's put this kind of detail on our next regular agenda.
Yeah.
item report. I'm
that'll
concerned
be-
that we're off topic, number one, and number two, adding costs to the project.
So right now, then I will make a motion to approve the remaining $330,868 of the proposal from Brad Damitz and the other consultants for the Surfers Beach Restoration Pilot Project, and approve an increase in the capital expenditure appropriations by the same amount to be funded by available non-personnel expenditures and grant funds.
Second that.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Virginia. Roll call, please.
Ms. Slater Carter,
Yes.
Mr. Domrat,
Yes.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Mr. Mathush,
Aye.
Mr. Chen Crawley. Aye.
In back to the regular agenda.
Thanks,
um,
Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Let's move to item G3 and initiate proceedings to increase rates and fees not previously amended to reflect an increase of 2.8%. Direct staff to notice a public meeting to consider adopting the increase to be held at the next regularly scheduled Harbor Commission meeting on April 16th, 2025.
I think that's my item. And you did a great job just summarizing it. Thank you very much, President Slater Carter. So this year, the consumer price indexed for the San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward area was 2.8% in 2024, and that's how we typically set our rate increases. So the majority of our rates, we are proposing to increase by that percentage amount, and how that impacts our operating budget going into 25-26 is it adds $88,000 to our operating budget. In preparation for this item, we posted notices on all of our billings for March 1st that this would be an item on our agenda, wanting to make sure all of our tenants and the public knew of this. It's posted at both of our facilities. Once the item was agendized, we did send out emails to all of our tenants at both facilities, updated the posting, and then we'll also be coming back to this item next month, so giving the public plenty of opportunity to invite them to come in and to provide input on this rate and fee increase.
None. Let's bring it back to the board. Board comment. I will add that not only do we add $88,000 for our fiscal year 25-26, but our costs have gone up too. And so this is not to make, this helps, it's in the interest of having a balanced budget that we need to make this rate increase. We've got materials costs, we've got labor costs, all kinds of costs that are going up. So thank you very much. Let's have a roll call vote, please. Oh, I need a motion first, yes.
Well, I'll make the motion, but I also want to just comment that the increased CP based on CPI is not new this year. So this has been something that we approved before. But I do want to point out that, if the fishing season isn't great, it'll impact them and the businesses. And, I just want to put that out there that we do have these cost increases as well, and hopefully we can get the, other revenue side, the other revenue income streams coming in to maybe, you know, offset some of these other costs. But the CPI index increase, or CPI increase is that was approved a few years ago, so. But I'll make a motion to initiate the proceedings. Reflect the CPI 2.8% increase. Roll call vote, please.
Aye.
Mr. Chiangcarelli? Aye. Mr. Mathush?
Hi.
Mr. Damara?
Moving on to item 4. First look, financial year 25-26 operating budget and capital improvement program. This is for information only. Raquel.
Just give me a moment, you know, there's always that moment of panic of, where's that share button again? Perfect. So I'd like to just start off the item with thanking our finance committee, Commissioner Chang Crawley and Commissioner Mathush for joining us as we did the first step at looking at our first look of our budget for 25-26. Their expertise and history with the district is really valuable for somebody newer on our team and developing the budget and getting ready to present this. Start us off, I'd like to just do a quick run through of our budget book product. It's a tool that the public can use and all of our commissioners as well. Really kind of taking that next step of being just a user-friendly tool when you're talking about the finances of the district. We have tabs that go all across the top and sub items in the menu. And I'll just go through them. I always have something that I like the best. So introduction and overview. One of the pieces that pulls through that I think is interesting is looking at the demographics of our county. Okay. Wow, history. Well, the history is good too. So just wanting to give you some samples of what's available under each of the tabs. The next tab over is influencing factors. And one of the most important, there's 2 important tabs under here that I would always come back to, especially if you're, you know, meeting with constituents, is our operating budget at a glance. And we'll come back to this at the end and I'll talk about, you know, really what we're looking at for this next year. That's an important one. And then if you're looking at how are things in the future looking for the district, I know that's a concern for many municipalities and special districts right now, but you can look at our 5-year financial forecast. These are not actual expenditures, but just our forecast out into the future. So you can look and see what we're expecting for our increase in working capital, what we're estimating for revenues, what we're estimating for expenses. The rest of the tabs are pretty self-explanatory. Our budget summary, it looks at the district as a whole. And if you jump over to to departments, you can drill down into our expenditures and revenues by department. I'll click on Pillar Point. Give you a little preview of what you can go through and look in here. We have an organizational chart, but really just lots of detail. The visuals are really nice. And then each table is accompanied by a spreadsheet breakdown. So if you really want to pull out a specific number. And capital improvements. So I'll give you a quick overview of what we're looking at for our 1-year plan. So this year in 24-25, we are anticipating spending right around 15 million on our capital improvement projects. If the timing all goes the way we anticipate, we know that often we have to roll over some of those expenditures. I'll also say that as we are planning the budget, we are continually in that active planning stage right now. And in the last couple of weeks, we have connected with our staff at Pillar Point and really looking at the specific needs around search and rescue. You know, we send our staff out to do some very dangerous things and did an analysis of their equipment and are there any needs to ensure that we can provide that search and rescue service safely for them and then be successful on the things that we're doing out in the open ocean. And so right now, in this version of the budget, we have $100,000 for vehicles and vessels at Pillar Point Harbor. But after that analysis, one of the things that would change that we'd want to come back to is we're looking at increasing that by $275,000, so for a total of $375,000, and that would include replacing the jet skis that our search and rescue team uses and repowering our primary search and rescue vessel. So just knowing that that change is out there and wanting to make sure that our staff is safe and they have the tools to do their job. I'm going to jump back to influencing factors in that operating budget at a glance. Just to take us through what we're looking at for fiscal year 2026. Our operating revenues are budgeted to increase by 2.2%, even though our CPI is 2.8. It doesn't take that, we don't absorb that whole 2.8%. So 2.2% in operating revenues. That's also kind of considering that we are going to have a decrease in those launch ramp fees. Salmon season is looking doubtful. So that's why we're looking at those reduced in operating revenues. Non-operating revenues are budgeted to decrease by 1.6%. Decrease in property tax, and then partially offset by our interest income that we are generating, which is a good thing. It may not go on forever, but we are anticipating that increase this year. Salaries, wages, and benefits, those costs are projected to increase by 5.6%, and those are primarily due to the cost of health insurance premiums and other benefit costs. Non-personnel expenditures are budgeted to increase by 9.6%. And we're really seeing that, that 2 point being influenced by that 2.8% in CPI, but also where we put the Surfers Beach monitoring costs are up in operating, and then stepping into the Princeton Shoreline feasibility study next year. Capital projects for the next fiscal year include the $200,000 for the general manager, and then we will be looking at vehicle and vessels for both Oyster Point and Pillar Point Harbor. And so this item is similar to rates and fees that we are just going to publicly notice it, and we'll keep working on it between now and the next month and making those changes and updating as necessary. Any questions?
I wanted to, there was something I just wanted to point out that was in the consent agenda, which is item F10, which is basically the finance committee presentation from our investment partners, which is basically making our money work for us without having to do actual physical work. It's like the market working for us. So I just wanted to point your attention to that as well. So I think it's done very well. Just a quick question on this. This was brought up in the meeting, Michelle, but I'm looking at our current portfolio And I'm going back to that because I am trying to point out that, the interest, the bond market has been pretty favorable, but as the curve normalizes, again, the yield curve, we're gonna probably see the interest rates, the returns go down on the short end. But for our current portfolio, is there any way that you can ask them to please give us the overall ROI? Because they've got it based on each issue here with, farm credits, Fannies, Freddies, and the treasuries. And they each have their own yield based on their yield and maturity, but we can just get an overall ROI. And I think they mentioned it, I think it was around 4.25%, but something like this would be great.
I will absolutely
Okay.
to bring it back to you.
Yeah, thanks, because that'll give us, it'll help me plot it actually. Because we're in a very uncertain economic time, so that's why I'm just plotting it. And really, the stock market isn't gonna be that's not the reference that we need to look at. It's the bond market and the yields right now. And especially if the Feds are gonna decrease yields probably at least maybe twice this year.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll bring
thank
that
you.
back.
Okay,
you.
thanks.
That.
Thanks for
So
showing.
we're moving on to the California Open Safety Fair and Beach Safety Proclamation. Yeah.
There was an error on the safety proclamation, so this is an update on the Pillar Point Ocean Safety Fair. Staff working with the events committee discussed what we can do to bring more people to the harbor and to educate the public about ocean safety. So the coastside Ocean Safety Fair was brought up, and staff been working on it. We have several other federal and state and local agencies have committed to the safety fair. It's going to take place on May 17th, 2025. We tried to work with the RNA Foundation to do a 5K walk, but due to permitting requirements, we're not able to get that completed in time. But we are going to have a 5K walk and possibly a paddleboard kayak event at the same time this October. So we're still working with the RNA Foundation to do that. The safety fair will include demonstrations by the United States Coast Guard. Half Moon Bay Kayak will be doing kayak demonstrations and safety classes. We'll bring in the Coastside Fire is going to be there, the Sheriff's Department, and several others. We've invited local marine suppliers like West Marine to have a booth there and others. We really expect this to be a great event to attract a large number of people to learn about ocean safety. We worked with the tenants. They're all involved from Oceansiders, Mavericks, Half Moon Bay Kayak Company, the Catch, the Bait Shop, and then Maverick Surf Company are all involved in supporting the event. And the cost we're asking the board is to budget $20,000 for this event. And the recommended motion is to approve the general manager to proceed with organizing the Coastside Ocean Safety Fair to be held at Pillar Point Harbor on May 17th, 2025, with a district cost not to exceed $20,000.
Virginia, your comment.
I'm just gonna move to approve the general manager's, recommendation and move forward with the Coastside Safety Fair and, I guess deal with the funding of not to exceed $20,000.
Okay, any more comments? I have a couple points. It's a nitpicky one. First, it says learn to swim after it says swim near a lifeguard. Now, I think learning to swim is the first order of business and it should be in all caps and bold.
That was the list provided by the Life Saving Service, so. I'll contact them and let them know.
I will say, having lived on the coast for 46 years, when my child turned 2.5, I immediately enrolled him in a swim class. When I was a teeny little kid on a teeny little island in the middle of the Pacific, one of my sisters ended up face down on the edge of the water and almost died. Learning to swim, learning to get your head up and your face up are the most critical things you can learn to do when you are near any body of water, including bathtubs. It's that critical. Otherwise, all of them are great. But and another point or question, why are there permitting complications for having a 5K walk? It sounds like somebody trying to have a city sales permit for a lemonade stand for a little kid.
It involves the county, it involves the state, it involves the harbor district, it involves traffic, the city of Half Moon Bay, closing down streets to allow the walkers to cross. And to be able to get all those permits in time, it wouldn't be able to get that permit, all the permits processed in a timely fashion to be able to advertise and sell the bibs and coordinate.
I asked you that mostly for the public's information. What seems like taking a little 5K walk would be easy, but
It's not.
the permitting is getting ridiculous. The other is, it's like we had with the chili cook-off. Also, what's
I
the
mean,
$20,000 going to be spent?
And paying for the sound system, the stage, some safety equipment. Also, our intent is to buy safety equipment such as children's life jackets and hand them out to children at the event and other safety items like that.
Fabulous. Thank you for the detail. All right, we have a motion from Virginia. And we need a second from Bill. Boy, the minutes are gonna be easy. Motion by Virginia, second by Bill. That's okay. We're moving right along. Roll call vote, please.
Slater Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Domrat?
Aye.
Aye.
Bush?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we're
This
at
was
the
your
end
report, not
of
mine.
the agenda. We're
So-
going to move in
Service to the.
session. So we'll take a 5-minute break. When we come out of closed session, we're going to be discussing any action we have taken. Future agenda items, and then we will adjourn. Thank you. Okay, let's call this meeting back to order. No action having been taken in closed session. Moving on to future agenda items. I would like to add current capital project as a regular agenda item. And in April, we're going to be discussing the reopening the meeting to Zoom participation for the public. And also discussing changing our hours away from those of the Board of Supervisors to an evening meeting. Yes, and I would also like to have a public relations committee. I think it was shown to be needed. by the discussion today about wanting to make sure that education items are routinely included in the budgets for our, any capital projects, for transparency and information for the public. Do we have any other suggestions? Seeing none, the meeting's adjourned.
At 11:41.
At 11:41, vote, please. Let's take a vote.
Motion.
Let's have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, roll call.
Slater Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Domrat,
Aye.
Commissioner Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Mathush,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crowley.
Yeah.
But
I,
Tom,
that always seems strange. I have to